The transport ship shook as it came out of light speed. Dr. Lisa Martinez grabbed the metal rail beside her seat to keep from falling. Through the small window, she could see the biggest warship she had ever seen. The GCS horizon stretched across, space like a floating city made of metal and lights. Lisa picked up her medical bag and checked her things one more time. Inside were the tools she had used for 10 years as a doctor. Simple tools that her teachers had shown her in medical school. A stethoscope, surgical knives, needle and thread, bandages and medicine bottles. Nothing fancy or high-tech like what the aliens used. The transport ship docked with a loud clang. The door opened with a hiss of air. Lisa stepped onto the alien warship and looked around with wide eyes. The hallway was huge, big enough for creatures 3 times her size. Strange lights glowed from the walls, and the air smelled different. It smelled like metal and something sweet she could not name. Other beings walked past her without looking. She saw tall creatures that looked like giant bugs walking on 2 legs. Their bodies were covered in hard shells like armor. She also saw beings that looked like they were made of colored glass or crystal. They moved in a flowing way that seemed almost like dancing. Lisa had studied these alien races before coming here. The bug-like ones were called Cytherians. They were famous as great warriors. The crystal beings were Altarians. They were known as the best doctors in the galaxy. There were also others she recognized from her studies. The Zephyrians looked like giant flying insects with thin wings. They were supposed to be very smart. A human soldier walked up to her. He was tall and looked tired. "Dr. Martinez, I'm Sergeant Tony Blake. I'm here to show you around." Lisa nodded. "Nice to meet you, Sergeant. How many humans are on this ship?" Tony looked uncomfortable. "Not many, Doctor. Maybe 50 out of 10,000 crew members. Most of the aliens think humans are too weak for real fighting." As they walked through the ship, Lisa could feel eyes watching her. Groups of aliens would stop talking when she passed. She heard clicking sounds and strange musical noises that she knew were alien languages. Even without understanding the words, she could tell they were not saying nice things about her. They reached the medical bay and Lisa stopped walking. The room was enormous and filled with equipment she had never seen before. Machines with blinking lights covered the walls, tables that seemed to float in the air without any support, devices that hummed with energy and cast strange glows. "This is where you'll be working," Tony said. "The alien doctors have machines that can grow new arms and legs in minutes. They can fix almost any wound just by pointing some kind of energy beam at it." Lisa looked at her simple medical bag and felt very small. "What about the human medical section?" Tony laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "There isn't one. The aliens said human medicine is too basic to be useful. They gave you a small corner over there." He pointed to a tiny space near the back wall. Before Lisa could answer, heavy footsteps shook the floor. She turned around and saw the biggest living thing she had ever met. The creature stood at least 9 feet tall. Its body was covered in thick armor that looked like it grew from its skin. It had 4 arms and a head that was mostly mouthful of sharp teeth. Scars covered every part of its body that she could see. "So," the creature said in a voice like grinding rocks, "the humans have sent us their idea of a doctor." Lisa stood up straight and looked the giant creature in the eyes. "I'm Dr. Lisa Martinez. I'm here to help save lives." The creature made a sound that might have been laughing. "I am Commander Vexthal. I lead the medical response teams for this ship." His 4 eyes looked at her like she was some kind of interesting bug. "Tell me, little human, what makes you think you can help us? Look around you." Lisa looked at the amazing medical equipment filling the room. "Our Altarian doctors can heal wounds that would kill 100 humans," the commander continued. "They can bring someone back from almost dead using nothing but light and energy. Our Zephyrian specialists can operate on a brain while the patient is still awake and talking. They do this with their minds, not crude tools like yours." More aliens had gathered around to listen. Lisa could hear that clicking sound again, and the musical notes from the crystal beings. She was sure they were all laughing at her. "Your people," Commander Vexthal went on, "break easily. Your bones snap like dry wood. Your skin tears like thin paper. You live for such a short time that you barely learn anything before you die. What could you possibly teach us about healing? An Altarian. Doctor stepped forward. Its crystal body was a beautiful blue color, and it spoke in a voice like wind chimes. Humans still use metal tools to cut into bodies. They sew wounds closed with thread like they are fixing clothes. It is almost primitive. Primitive, agreed a Zephyrian, its wings making a buzzing sound. We have studied human medicine. They use chemicals that poison the body to fight disease. They cut people open to fix what is broken inside. It is like using a hammer to repair a watch. Lisa listened to all of this without getting angry. She had heard it before from aliens who visited Earth. She had also heard it from some humans who thought their own species was worthless compared to the advanced aliens. You're right, she said calmly. Human medicine is simple compared to yours. We do use basic tools. We do have to cut people open sometimes. We do use strong medicines that can hurt as much as they help. The aliens seemed surprised that she agreed with them. But, Lisa continued, I've been a doctor for 10 years. I've worked in emergency rooms where people came in dying and walked out alive. I've performed surgery in places with no power and no fancy equipment. I've saved lives using nothing but my hands and my knowledge. Commander Vexthal leaned down until his huge head was close to hers. And you think this makes you useful to us? Lisa met his stare without blinking. I think it makes me ready for anything. The commander straightened up and looked around at the other aliens. Very well, Dr. Martinez. You will have your chance to prove yourself, but understand this. When we go into battle, there is no room for failure. Lives depend on fast, perfect healing. If your primitive methods slow us down or cost lives, you will be removed from this ship. I understand, Lisa said. Good. The commander turned to leave, then stopped. Oh, and Doctor, the first battle mission begins in 3 days. I suggest you use that time to study our equipment. You will need to understand how real medicine works. As the aliens walked away, Lisa could hear them talking and laughing. Tony put his hand on her shoulder. Don't let them get to you, Doc. I've seen what human doctors can do. My life was saved by one back on Earth. Lisa nodded and looked around the medical bay again. The alien equipment was impressive, but she noticed something. All of it depended on power and energy and computer systems. All of it was complex and needed everything to work perfectly. She opened her medical bag and looked at her simple tools. A knife would always cut. Thread would always sew. Bandages would always stop bleeding. These things would work even if every machine in the galaxy stopped working. Maybe, she said quietly to herself. Simple isn't always worse. She spent the next 3 days learning about the alien medical systems and watching the alien doctors work. They were truly amazing. She saw them regrow entire limbs in minutes and heal terrible wounds with just light and energy. But she also noticed something else. None of them had ever worked without their machines. None of them had ever had to solve a problem with just their hands and their mind. Lisa had a feeling that this might matter very soon. 3 days passed quickly on the GCS horizon. Lisa spent her time learning about the ship and watching the alien doctors prepare for battle. She had never seen medical equipment so advanced. The Altarian healing crystals could fix broken bones in seconds. The Zephyrian brain scanners could read thoughts and fix damaged minds. The Catherian biotanks could grow new body parts while a patient waited. On the morning of the 4th day, alarms started going off all over the ship. Lisa was in her small corner of the medical bay when the lights turned red and a loud voice spoke over the ship's communication system. All medical teams to battle stations. We are approaching the target planet. First wave launches in 30 minutes. Lisa grabbed her medical bag and ran toward the shuttle bay where the medical ships were kept. Around her, alien doctors moved with calm confidence. They carried no bags or tools. Everything they needed was built into their advanced medical ships. The shuttle bay was huge and filled with noise. Soldiers in armor ran toward their battleships. Medical teams climbed into white ships marked with healing symbols. Lisa looked around for someone to tell her where to go. Dr. Martinez. She turned and saw Tony Blake running toward her. You're coming with us on the medical evacuation ship. We pick up wounded soldiers and bring them back for treatment. Lisa, followed Tony to a white ship that was bigger than the others. Inside, she saw the most amazing medical setup she had ever seen. The walls were covered with healing machines, tables that could scan a patient's entire body in seconds, devices that could pump medicine directly into someone's blood without needles. Everything was clean and white and humming with power. Dr. Zelkin, the lead Altarian doctor, was checking his equipment. His crystal body was glowing bright blue with confidence. "Human doctor," he said without looking at her. "Try not to interfere with our work. Watch and learn if you can keep up." The ship launched with a smooth whoosh. Through the windows, Lisa could see the planet below. It was called Kepler 442b, and it had once been a peaceful mining world. Now it was covered with smoke and fire. The enemy had taken it over 3 months ago. "What exactly are we fighting?" Lisa asked Tony as they dropped through the atmosphere. Tony's face looked grim. "They call themselves the Void Hunters. Nobody knows where they came from originally. They show up, take over planets, and suck all the life out of them. Their weapons are unlike anything we've seen before." The ship landed with a bump on the planet's surface. Lisa could hear explosions and weapon fire outside. The back door opened and the first wounded soldiers were brought in. Lisa had seen battle wounds before, but nothing like this. A Catherian warrior was carried in on a floating stretcher. The entire left side of his body looked like it was dissolving. His hard shell armor was melting like ice in hot sun. Underneath, his flesh was coming apart at the level of individual cells. "Entropy weapon hit," one of the soldiers explained quickly. "The wound keeps spreading. We can't stop it." Dr. Zelkin moved quickly to the patient. His crystal hands began to glow with healing energy. He placed them over the wound and concentrated. Lisa watched as blue light poured from his hands into the injured Catherian. For a moment, the wound seemed to slow its spreading. Then the light from Dr. Zelkan's hands began to flicker. The blue glow got weaker and weaker until it died completely. "What?" Dr. Zelkan stepped back, confused. "My healing matrix is not responding. The biofield is destabilized." He tried again, pouring more energy into his hands. This time, nothing happened at all. No glow, no healing power, nothing. More wounded soldiers were brought in. A Zephyrian, with half her wing, dissolved away. An Altarian whose crystal body was cracking and falling apart in pieces. Each time, Dr. Zelkin and the other alien doctors tried their advanced healing techniques. Each time, nothing worked. "The entropy weapons," Dr. Zelkin said, his voice filled with panic for the first time. "They are interfering with our energy-based healing systems. We cannot establish proper bioresonance." A Zephyrian doctor tried to use her neural link healing system on one of the patients. The system connected to the patient's brain for a few seconds, then sparked and shut down completely. "The neural pathways are scrambled," she buzzed frantically. "The entropy damage is blocking all our connection protocols." More patients kept coming in. Each one was worse than the last. The alien doctors who had been so confident in their abilities began to panic. Their amazing machines were useless. Their energy-based healing could not work. The soldiers were dying, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. Lisa watched all of this for exactly 30 seconds. Then she stood up, picked up her simple medical bag, and walked toward the nearest patient. "Move aside," she said quietly but firmly. Dr. Zelkan looked at her like she had lost her mind. "Human, this is not the time for your primitive methods. These wounds are beyond anything your crude tools can handle." Lisa was already kneeling beside the injured Catherian warrior. She opened her bag and took out her basic tools. A flashlight to see better. A stethoscope to check his heart. Simple surgical instruments that had not changed much in hundreds of years. "The entropy weapons disrupt energy fields," she said while examining the patient. "But they can't stop basic chemistry and physics." She took out a bottle of antiseptic and poured it over the spreading wound. The dissolving effect slowed down immediately. "Impossible," whispered Dr. Zelkin. Lisa ignored him and kept working. She could see that the entropy weapon had created a chain reaction at the cellular level. Each damaged cell was damaging the cells next to it, spreading the destruction outward like ripples in water. The alien healing systems tried to fix this by pouring energy into the area, But the entropy effect just absorbed that energy and used it to spread faster. But basic antiseptic worked differently. It did not try to heal anything. It just killed everything in the area, good and bad alike. This stopped the chain reaction by removing the damaged cells that were spreading the effect. Lisa took out her surgical knife and began cutting away the dissolved tissue. It was careful, precise work. Each cut had to be exact to remove only the damaged parts while leaving healthy tissue behind. "What are you doing?" Dr. Zelkin asked, horrified. "You are cutting into him with a metal blade. You are causing more damage." "I'm stopping the entropy spread," Lisa said without looking up from her work. "Your healing systems tried to save the damaged tissue, but sometimes you can't save something. Sometimes you have to remove it to save the rest." She worked for 20 minutes, cutting away dissolved tissue and cleaning the wound with antiseptic. When she was done, the entropy effect had stopped spreading. The Catherian warrior was unconscious, but stable. "How?" Dr. Zelkin stared at her in amazement. "Simple biology," Lisa said, already moving to the next patient. "You can't fix a rotten apple by shining light on it. Sometimes you have to cut out the rotten parts." More wounded soldiers were brought in. Lisa moved from patient to patient, using techniques that seemed impossibly primitive to the alien doctors. She cleaned wounds with simple antiseptic. She sewed cuts closed with needle and thread. She stopped bleeding by applying direct pressure with her hands, but it worked. Every patient she treated stopped getting worse. Some even started getting better. Dr. Zelkin and the other alien doctors watched in amazement as the small human woman did things they thought were impossible. She was saving lives using tools that were thousands of years old, and methods that seemed almost barbaric. "I don't understand," Dr. Zelkin said quietly. "How can such simple methods work when our advanced systems fail?" Lisa looked up from the Zephyrian she was treating. "Because sometimes the old ways are the only ways that work. Your machines are amazing when everything goes right. But when something goes wrong, you need to know how to work with your hands." The battle outside continued for hours. More wounded soldiers kept coming in. The alien doctors tried to help, but their systems remained useless against the entropy weapons. Only Lisa's simple, basic methods could stop the spreading damage and save lives. By the end of the first day, she had treated over 40 patients. All of them survived. The alien doctors had treated none successfully. As night fell on the battle-torn planet, Dr. Zelkin approached Lisa where she sat resting against a wall. "Dr. Martinez," he said quietly, "I believe I owe you an apology." The second day of battle began before the sun rose. Lisa had barely slept for 2 hours when the alarm started again. More wounded soldiers were coming in, and this time there were many more of them than the day before. Lisa got up from the small cot where she had been resting and checked her medical supplies. She was running low on antiseptic and surgical thread. Her simple tools were all she had, but they had saved more lives yesterday than all the fancy alien equipment combined. Dr. Zelkin approached her as she prepared for another day of surgery. His crystal body was dim with worry instead of bright, with confidence like before. "Dr. Martinez," he said quietly, "the battle situation is getting worse. The enemy has brought in stronger weapons. We are expecting 3 times as many wounded today as yesterday." Lisa nodded and continued organizing her tools. "Then we better get ready to work 3 times as hard." "But how can we handle so many patients? My healing crystals still do not work against the entropy damage. The Zephyrian neural systems are still blocked. Only your methods seem to work, but you are just one person." Lisa looked at Dr. Zelkin thoughtfully. "Maybe it's time. You learned how to work with your hands instead of just your machines." Dr. Zelkin's crystal body flickered with uncertainty. "But our hands are not made for such crude work. We Altarians have used energy healing for thousands of years. We do not know how to cut and sew like you do." "Then you'll learn," Lisa said simply. "Because if you don't, a lot of soldiers are going to die today." The first wave of casualties arrived 30 minutes later. Lisa immediately saw that Dr. Zelkin had been right. There were far more wounded than yesterday, and their injuries were much worse. The enemy had developed stronger entropy weapons that caused faster spreading damage. Lisa quickly set up what she called triage stations. She divided the patients into 3 groups: those who needed surgery immediately, those who could wait a little while, and those with minor wounds that could be treated quickly. "Dr. Zelkin," she called out, "I need you to help me. Come here and watch exactly what I do." Dr. Zelkin moved to stand beside her as she began working on a badly injured Catherian soldier. The entropy weapon had hit him in the chest, and the dissolving effect was spreading toward his heart. "First, we stop the spread," Lisa explained as she worked. "Clean antiseptic kills everything in the affected area. Yes, it kills good cells, too, but it stops the chain reaction." She poured the liquid over the wound, and the spreading slowed immediately. "Now we cut away the damaged tissue," she continued, using her surgical knife with precise movements. "You have to cut deep enough to get all the dissolved parts, but not so deep that you damage healthy organs underneath." Dr. Zelkin watched closely as Lisa removed the damaged tissue piece by piece. His crystal hands began to glow slightly, not with healing energy, but with concentration. "Can you do this?" Lisa asked him. Dr. Zelkin looked at his hands. They were made of living crystal, harder than human hands, but also more delicate. "I am not certain. My people have not done such work for many centuries." "Try," Lisa said, handing him a surgical knife. "That Zephyrian over there has similar damage. Start with cleaning the wound like I showed you." Dr. Zelkin took the knife, awkwardly. His crystal fingers were not used to holding such simple tools. But he moved to the injured Zephyrian and began to copy what Lisa had done. His first cuts were clumsy and too shallow. The Zephyrian's wing membrane continued to dissolve. Lisa quickly moved to help him. "Deeper," she instructed. "You have to cut past where you think the damage ends. It's better to take too much healthy tissue than to leave any damaged tissue behind." Dr. Zelkin tried again. This time his cuts were better. The dissolving effect began to slow. After 20 minutes of careful work, he had successfully stopped the entropy spread on his first patient. "I did it," he said, his crystal body glowing with amazement. "I actually stopped the damage using these primitive tools." "They're not primitive," Lisa corrected gently while working on another patient. "They're fundamental. Sometimes the simplest tools are the most reliable." Word spread quickly through the medical team. A Zephyrian doctor named Kixera buzzed over to watch what they were doing. Her large compound eyes studied every movement as Lisa demonstrated the technique again. "This is fascinating," Kixera buzzed. "Your species performs surgery by directly manipulating tissue. We have always used neural links to guide healing energy, but this direct approach bypasses all the interference from the entropy weapons." "Exactly," Lisa said. "The entropy weapons jam energy systems, but they can't stop sharp metal from cutting or thread from holding tissue together." Kixera picked up a surgical knife with her delicate insect hands. "May I attempt this technique as well?" Lisa nodded. "Start with small cuts on minor wounds. Work your way up to bigger injuries as you get more comfortable." More alien doctors began gathering around to watch and learn. Even some Catherian medics who had been the most skeptical of human methods came to see what was happening. Commander Vexthul himself arrived at the medical station in the afternoon. His huge armored form filled the doorway as he looked around at the scene inside. Alien doctors were working with simple metal tools, cutting and sewing wounds by hand. The human doctor was moving from patient to patient, teaching and guiding them. "Dr. Martinez," the commander said, "I have been receiving reports that seem impossible. They say you have trained our advanced medical staff to use primitive human techniques." Lisa looked up from the patient she was treating. Her hands were covered in blood and she looked exhausted, but her eyes were still alert and focused. "I've taught them to use their hands instead of just their machines," she said. "When the machines don't work, sometimes hands are all you have." Commander Vexthul looked around the medical bay. Every bed was full, but none of the patients were dying. The alien doctors were working steadily with tools they had never used before, and they were saving lives. "The survival rate," he said slowly, "has increased by over 200% since yesterday." "It'll get better as they learn more," Lisa replied. "Dr. Zelkan is already getting good at tissue removal. Kixara has excellent precision with her cuts. They just needed to learn that medicine isn't always about advanced technology. A Catherian medic named Thokkel approached them. His 4 arms were working on different parts of an injured soldier at the same time. Dr. Martinez showed us that we can use multiple tools simultaneously, he said proudly. My people have 4 arms, but we never thought to use them all for surgery because our machines only required 1 operator. Lisa smiled tiredly. Every species has advantages they don't realize. Catherians have multiple arms and incredible strength for precise cutting. Zephyrians have amazing eyesight for detailed work. Altarians never get tired like biological beings do. And humans? Commander Vexthal asked. Lisa thought for a moment. Humans are stubborn. We don't give up easily, and we're used to making do with whatever tools we have. As the day continued, something remarkable happened. The alien doctors stopped thinking of Lisa's methods as primitive. They began to see them as fundamental skills that every good doctor should know. They realized that relying only on advanced technology had made them weak in some ways. Dr. Zelkin had become skilled enough to handle major surgery cases by himself. Kixara could now perform delicate operations on wing membranes and nervous systems. Even the proud Catherian medics admitted that working with their hands gave them a better understanding of anatomy than their machines ever had. By the end of the second day, the medical team had treated over 150 patients. The survival rate was now higher than it had ever been, even during peacetime operations with full access to all their advanced equipment. But Lisa knew this was just the beginning. The real test would come when the enemy realized their entropy. Weapons were no longer giving them the advantage they expected. She had a feeling the battle was about to get much more difficult. The third day of battle brought terror unlike anything the coalition forces had ever faced. Lisa was awakened before dawn by explosions that shook the entire medical ship. Through the windows, she could see bright flashes of light across the battlefield that looked like small suns exploding. Tony Blake ran into the medical bay, his face pale with fear. Doc, we've got a big problem. The Void Hunters just deployed something new. They're calling them entropy bombs. Lisa quickly got dressed and checked her medical supplies. What do entropy bombs do? They create expanding fields of that dissolving effect, Tony explained. But instead of just hitting one person, they spread out and dissolve everything in a circle that gets bigger and bigger. Entire squads are being wiped out in seconds. Within minutes, the first casualties from the entropy bombs arrived. Lisa had never seen anything so horrible. Soldiers were brought in with half their bodies simply gone, dissolved away by the expanding entropy fields. Others had been caught at the edge of the explosions and were slowly dissolving as the effect continued to spread through their bodies. Dr. Zelkan and the other alien doctors tried to use the techniques Lisa had taught them, but the damage was too extensive. The entropy effects from the bombs were much stronger than anything they had seen before. The antiseptic is not working, Dr. Zelkan said desperately as he worked on a Catherian whose entire right side was dissolving. The dissolution is spreading faster than we can stop it. Lisa examined several patients and realized the horrible truth. The entropy bombs created a different type of damage than the weapons they had faced before. Instead of just dissolving tissue at the point of impact, they created a kind of chain reaction that kept spreading through the body, even after exposure ended. We need a different approach, she told the medical team. The regular antiseptic can't keep up with this level of damage. We need something stronger. Kixara buzzed nervously. But what could be stronger? We have tried everything in our medical supplies. Lisa looked around the medical bay at all the alien equipment that had been useless against entropy weapons. Then she had an idea that seemed crazy but might just work. Dr. Zelkan, your healing crystals don't work because the entropy effect absorbs and redirects energy, right? Yes, Dr. Zelkan replied. The entropy fields drain our healing energy and use it to spread the damage further. But what if we used that against the entropy effect itself? Lisa asked. What if we could make the entropy effect absorb something that would poison it instead of feeding it? The alien doctors looked confused. Kixara tilted her head in the way Zephyrians did when they were thinking hard. I do not understand. How can we poison an entropy field? Lisa was already moving around the medical bay, gathering supplies from the disabled alien equipment. Help me collect all the broken healing crystals and drained energy cells. Don't worry about whether they work. I just need the materials inside them. For the next hour, Lisa worked frantically while the alien doctors watched in confusion. She broke open the healing crystals and extracted the energy-storing compounds inside them. She drained the power cells and collected the stabilizing chemicals they contained. Using basic chemistry knowledge from her medical training, she began mixing these compounds with her antiseptic solution. The mixture turned strange colors and gave off a faint glow. "Dr. Martinez," Dr. Zelkin said worriedly, "those compounds are highly unstable when mixed together. They could cause unpredictable reactions." "That's exactly what I'm hoping for," Lisa replied, still mixing carefully. "The entropy effect works by creating molecular instability that spreads in predictable patterns. But if we introduce different types of instability that don't follow the same patterns, they should interfere with each other." She finished mixing and held up a bottle of glowing liquid. "This should create what I call molecular anchoring. Instead of just killing cells to stop the spread, it should stabilize the molecular structure and prevent entropy effects from taking hold." A badly injured Altarian was brought in just then. Half of his crystal body was dissolving, and the effect was spreading rapidly toward his core. Dr. Zelkin had tried everything but could not slow the damage. "Let me try this," Lisa said, approaching the patient with her new mixture. "Wait, Doctor," Zelkin protested. "We do not know what that compound will do. It could make the damage worse." Lisa looked at the dying Altarian. The entropy effect would reach his core in minutes, and then he would be dead regardless. "He's going to die anyway if we don't try something different." She carefully applied the glowing mixture to the edges of the dissolving area. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the spreading effect began to slow. The dissolving stopped, and the damaged areas actually began to stabilize. "It's working," Kixara buzzed excitedly. "The entropy spread has completely stopped." Lisa carefully treated the rest of the wound with her molecular anchoring solution. Within an hour, the Altarian was stable and beginning to recover. The entropy damage had been completely halted. Word spread quickly through the coalition forces. The human medic had found a way to counter the Void Hunter's most devastating new weapon. Medical teams across the battlefield began requesting the molecular anchoring formula, but Lisa realized she had a problem. Making the mixture required precise chemistry and careful mixing. She could not produce enough by herself to treat all the casualties from the entropy bombs. "I need to teach all of you how to make this," she told the alien medical staff. "Each team needs to be able to produce their own supply." Dr. Zelkin looked at the complex mixture doubtfully. "But this requires understanding of molecular chemistry. That takes years to learn." "No," Lisa said firmly. "It requires following directions exactly and measuring carefully. I'll write down the precise formula and mixing procedure. If you follow it step by step, you can make this." She spent the next several hours teaching the alien doctors how to create the molecular anchoring solution. She showed them how to extract the right compounds from their broken equipment, how to measure the exact amounts needed, and how to mix everything in the correct order. The Catherian medics turned out to be excellent at this work. Their forearms allowed them to handle multiple steps simultaneously, and their natural precision made them perfect for careful measurements. The Zephyrians' sharp eyesight helped them notice tiny details in the mixing process. The Altarians never got tired, so they could work for hours without making mistakes from exhaustion. By the end of the fourth day, every medical team in the coalition forces had learned to produce molecular anchoring solution. The entropy bombs were no longer the terror weapons they had been that morning. Soldiers who would have died from dissolving wounds were being saved and returned to duty. Commander Vexthal visited the medical bay again that evening. He looked around at the alien doctors working with human techniques and human chemistry to save lives that would have been lost just days before. "Dr. Martinez," he said quietly, "I have received reports from across our entire force. Since your molecular anchoring technique was distributed, our casualty rates have dropped by 70%. Soldiers are surviving injuries that would have been automatically fatal yesterday." Lisa was cleaning her tools after another long day of surgery. She looked tired but satisfied. "Good. That's what medicine is for. The Coalition High Command wants to know how long it took you to develop this technique, the commander continued. Lisa thought for a moment. About 3 hours to figure out the theory, another hour to get the mixture right, and several more hours to teach everyone else how to make it. Commander Vexathul stared at her. You developed a counter to their most advanced weapon in less than a day using broken equipment and basic chemistry? Sometimes the best solutions are the simple ones, Lisa replied. I just used what we had available and applied basic scientific principles. The commander shook his massive head in amazement. The Void Hunters have been developing these entropy weapons for decades. Their scientists spent years perfecting them, and you defeated them in a few hours with broken alien equipment and human medical knowledge. Lisa smiled tiredly. That's the thing about humans. We're really good at making things work even when they're not supposed to. The battle for Kepler 442b lasted 6 more days after Lisa developed the molecular anchoring technique. But everything had changed. The Void Hunters' most powerful weapons were no longer the unstoppable force they had been. Coalition soldiers fought with new confidence, knowing that even the worst injuries could now be treated and healed. Lisa had barely slept during those 6 days. She moved from medical station to medical station across the battlefield, teaching her techniques to every doctor and medic in the coalition forces. Her small human frame seemed to be everywhere at once, showing alien medics how to work with their hands, how to mix the anchoring solution, and how to save lives that would have been lost just a week before. On the 10th day of battle, the final assault began. Coalition forces launched a massive attack on the main Void Hunter stronghold, a dark fortress that seemed to absorb light itself. Lisa was in the primary medical station, a large tent set up just behind the front lines. This is it, Tony Blake said as he helped prepare the medical supplies. If we can take that fortress, the Void Hunters will have to retreat from this entire star system. Lisa nodded while checking her equipment one more time. Her simple medical bag was now accompanied by several bottles of molecular anchoring solution and teaching materials she had written for the alien doctors. How many medical teams do we have ready? 57 teams spread across the entire assault zone, Tony replied. Every single one of them trained in your techniques. The alien doctors are calling it the Martinez Protocol. Lisa smiled at that. I just hope they don't need to use it too much today. But she knew they would. The final assault was going to be the bloodiest part of the entire battle. The Void Hunters would throw everything they had at the coalition forces to protect their stronghold. The attack began at dawn, with the largest explosion Lisa had ever seen. The ground shook so hard that she had to grab onto a table to keep from falling. Through the tent opening, she could see bright flashes of weapons fire and the dark shapes of coalition ships flying toward the fortress. The first wounded soldiers arrived within minutes. But something was different this time. Instead of the panicked chaos of the early days, the medical teams worked with calm efficiency. Alien doctors used Lisa's techniques without hesitation, treating entropy wounds with the same confidence they had once shown with their advanced technology. Dr. Zelkin worked beside Lisa on a badly injured Catherian soldier. His crystal hands moved with practiced skill as he applied molecular anchoring solution and began surgical repairs. 6 months ago, I would have said this was impossible, he told Lisa as they worked. Altarian doctors performing surgery with metal tools, using chemical solutions mixed by hand. But now it feels natural. That's because it is natural, Lisa replied while sewing up a wound. Healing is about understanding the body and knowing how to help it repair itself. Technology can make it easier, but the understanding has to come first. Kixara buzzed over to them, her wings moving rapidly with excitement. Dr. Martinez, I have just received a communication from the Zephyrian Medical Council. They want to send students here to learn your techniques directly. They are calling it the most important medical advancement in 1,000 years. Lisa looked up in surprise. Really? But it's just basic surgery and chemistry. Basic to you, Dr. Zelkin said. Revolutionary to us. You have shown us that we became too dependent on our technology. We forgot that medicine is ultimately about the connection between healer and patient. Throughout that day, Lisa watched as the alien doctors she had trained worked with skills they had never imagined they could develop. Catherian medics used all four of their arms to perform complex surgeries faster than any human could. Zephyrian doctors combined their natural precision with Lisa's techniques to repair damage that would have been impossible to fix before. Altarian healers worked for hours without tiring, their crystal bodies never getting weak or making mistakes from exhaustion. Commander Vexthul arrived at the medical station in the afternoon. His massive armor was damaged from the fighting, but he moved with the satisfaction of a warrior who was winning his battle. "Dr. Martinez," he said, "I bring news from the front lines. The assault is succeeding beyond our expectations. But more importantly, our casualty rates are the lowest in coalition military history. Soldiers are surviving wounds that would have killed them in any previous battle." Lisa continued working while she listened. "That's good news, Commander." "It is more than good news," Vexthul replied. "It is miraculous. The Coalition High Command has been monitoring our medical reports throughout this battle. They have never seen anything like what you have accomplished here." He paused and looked around the medical station where alien doctors worked side by side using techniques they had learned from a human. "They want to make your protocol standard across the entire Coalition military. Every medical school in the galaxy will now teach the Martinez protocol alongside their traditional methods." Lisa stopped working for a moment and looked at the commander in amazement. "Across the entire galaxy?" "Yes," Vexthul confirmed, "but that is not all. The Coalition Council has voted to establish new medical research centers dedicated to combining advanced alien technology with fundamental medical principles. They want to make sure future doctors never again become so dependent on machines that they cannot heal with their own hands." As the day continued, more good news arrived from the battlefield. The Void Hunter Fortress was falling. Their forces were retreating across the planet. The battle that had seemed impossible to win just 10 days ago was ending in complete victory for the Coalition. But Lisa knew the real victory was happening right here in the medical stations. Lives that would have been lost were being saved. Soldiers were returning to their families instead of dying on foreign battlefields. And doctors across the galaxy were learning that sometimes the most advanced medicine in the universe was also the most simple. As the sun set on Kepler 442b, the last Void Hunter ships fled into space. The planet was free, and the Coalition had won its greatest victory in decades. Lisa sat on a medical crate outside the station, finally allowing herself to rest. She had been working for nearly 2 weeks straight, with only brief moments of sleep. Her small human body was exhausted, but her eyes still held the alert focus of a doctor ready to save the next life that needed saving. Dr. Zelkan, Kixara, and several other alien doctors approached her. Their different forms moved with a new kind of confidence, the confidence of healers who knew they could save lives no matter what technology was available to them. "Dr. Martinez," Dr. Zelkan said, "we wanted to thank you for what you have taught us." Lisa shook her head. "You don't need to thank me. You all learned quickly and worked hard. You saved those lives yourselves." "But you showed us how," Kixara buzzed. "Before this battle, we were healers who needed machines to heal. Now we are healers who can heal with or without machines. That is a gift that will last for generations." Years later, when young doctors across the galaxy learned about the Battle of Kepler 442b, they would study more than just the Martinez protocol. They would learn about persistence, about never giving up when lives were at stake, and about the courage to try new approaches when old methods failed. They would learn that Dr. Lisa Martinez, a small human woman with simple tools and basic knowledge, had revolutionized medicine across 1,000 worlds. Not by inventing amazing new technology, but by remembering the fundamental truth that healing is about understanding, caring, and refusing to quit. The aliens had laughed when she first stepped aboard their great warship. They had called her methods primitive and her tools crude. But in the end, she had become something none of them had expected. She had become a legend, and across the galaxy, whenever young doctors faced impossible situations with failing equipment and overwhelming odds, their teachers would tell them about the human medic who proved that sometimes the most powerful medicine in the universe is carried in the hands and heart of someone who simply refuses to let people die.